So today I have someone really fun, a favorite guest, a friend for a long time, Jeff Ellis, who is definitely aging gracefully. Thank you so much for being here, Jeff.
Great to be here with you, Kathryn.
We go way back. From a church program we were figuring 30-ish years ago we met.
At least.
And maybe we'd see each other for a while, then we might not run into each other for a few years, but we always resurface, don't we?
Yes, it's amazing.
Yes. So, 65 years old now.
I am.
You're just ahead of me, I know. But really, you're doing fantastic. And you have international karate centers.
Yes.
One located here in Avon Lake, Ohio, the other in Strongsville.
Yes. And we refer to them as Jeff Ellis's International Karate Centers.
Okay. And I know, so you've been around here, this community, for a long time. You're well known. Yeah. So you've done a lot of great things here for a lot of young people and all the way up, right? All ages.
True. All ages. We're particularly known for the successes we've enjoyed with young people, but we have people of all ages. We have children, we have teenagers, we have moms and dads, we have grandparents.
That's fantastic.
We have one family that we have 3 generations.
Oh my gosh.
We had the grandson started first, and then we got the mom to start, and then Grandpa started. And Grandpa and Mom are black belts, and the grandson is on his way to be a black belt in the next year or so.
That must be so rewarding for you.
It's very neat.
So fun.
And it must be very rewarding for that family as well.
That's right.
Doing something really instrumental for everybody's well-being, their physical and mental health, right? But they also get a chance to do something together. It's a nice bonding opportunity while doing something helpful together as well as individually.
Yeah, that's
building
what
that sense
I'm
of
thinking.
confidence, their focus, and all that. And of course, for the adults, it's a great way to relieve stress.
And I want to talk more about some of this. But let's go back just a little bit so that our viewers know a little bit more about you. I know you're married for many years.
Yes.
3 children and a stepson. You have a beautiful family.
Grandchildren too.
And grandchildren too. That's right. We can't leave them out. They're so important. And you've grown up in the Cleveland area, mostly.
Yeah, southwest, western suburbs primarily. Well, most of my life anyway.
And then you suffered some difficulties as a child at 11, I think, when you lost your father.
Yes.
So that's pretty hard for a child growing up, pretty traumatic. And then your mother had some bouts of mental illness. So
yeah, from an early adult
continued.
life, certainly within her 30s, she started exhibiting symptoms and behaviors of mental illness, and it was a struggle for her life.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked about how so much more is known now, and the stigma is kind of dissipating because we understand it more. But back when you were a child, you wouldn't have fully understood everything, and it had to have been challenging too.
Yeah, it was very much because it was something that was certainly different, and we knew that Mom wasn't quite right, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, she did her best, but not quite there emotionally all the time for my sister and I. And then so my father passed when I was 11, and so she's a single mom raising 2 children. And that was a little bit of a battle for her, particularly knowing that she had this difficulty. So
Especially hard then.
So my sister would say that we raised ourselves primarily in a lot of ways.
So this is leading up to how you found karate and how it changed your life. So it was a summer that...
Yeah, it was a summer of while I was in high school.
Okay.
And I was a rebellious teenager.
As teenagers are.
Could be. And so my mother was really having a challenge with me, and so she looked to another relative, a cousin of mine, who was looked after by my father when my cousin was a teenager. So my cousin is 12 years older than I, and so he had his own family and children, and so he took on the task of helping me that summer. At least that's what he was planning on doing. And in prior years growing up, I would spend maybe a week or two with those relatives in Western PA. And that summer was an important one because my cousin Mickey was given the task to set me straight. And as I was kind of going down a self-destructive path, and which can happen in the
Sure.
teenage years. And while I was there, he had a friend who was leading a class of martial arts. And in those days, there weren't too many classes around. So I was first introduced to it, the martial arts, in 1968, and then again in 1969, and in the year of 1970 is when I formally began my experience. But during that summer, it took him half the summer to persuade me to give it a shot. And I was, of course, resistant to that because, after all, what teenager wants something that's good for them if another adult tells them, right?
Right.
But after half the summer, I thought, okay, I'll give it a shot.
And maybe even just to make him stop bugging you.
Yeah, or something. So I gave in and tried it. And I can remember that first lesson, Kathryn, like it was yesterday.
Really?
Yes. You see, one young lady was given the task that day of helping me out to show me how it works. And she was even smaller than me. And she's about my age, and she was putting her little bony knuckles on my chest to say, well, this is how you make the punch. And she was, doing a little faster, but she wasn't hurting me or planning to hurt me, and she didn't, but she was showing me how it works. I thought, wow, that little thing, she's got that much speed and power. If she can do that, maybe I could do it too. So then I continued the next lesson. I came back, and next thing you know, things kept just revolving, and I found that I enjoyed it. And there was other things that took place that I had no idea that were going to take place.
Other changes,
Yeah.
how it would affect you.
It became transforming for me, literally. Because as a child, I struggled academically. I was a child that kind of bounced around a lot, and didn't have any focus to speak of. And I was the youngest in my class, and I was kind of pushed around a lot. In those days, we called it being bullied. Today, it looks a little bit different than then, a little bit. But the main thing is, I got picked on a lot and translated to being bullied, and so I didn't have any self-esteem, Kathryn, as well as my focus. And
Which is, I just got to say, hard for me to imagine, knowing you as I do. So
Yes.
I can see that it must have been big changes for you.
so then, the martial arts lessons, doing that with people who really understood not only the martial arts, but how to work with a young person like myself who had these needs that might be a little bit different than a typical kid. And knowing that, I didn't have any sense of direction. I didn't have my father wasn't there, and my mother really was suffering, so I lacked direction along with the focus and the self-esteem, and certainly didn't have any respect for myself, and let alone anybody else. So what happens, these light bulbs start going off in my head after I'd been practicing for even a few months, Kathryn, and began to gain that sense of confidence in that from the accomplishments I was gaining that I was doing. And that's one of the nice things about doing the martial arts is, while we may be doing it as a group, we're really doing it individually.
Right.
The person's got to do the kick themselves. Nobody's going to do it for them. So you see yourself getting better and moving from one level to another and gain that sense of accomplishment that leads to better confidence and self-esteem.
And then that
And then
just
it opens up the door.
over, right? Into
Yeah, and
so
then what
many
happens
other-
is, and I know this now from working with children all these years, is that the confidence is such a big key with so much in life. And that doesn't matter whether you're young or old. That confidence helps us to believe in ourselves so we can handle things that become more difficult. And for me, the next thing that was difficult was the focusing. So it opened up my eyes to see, maybe I could do better, and I did. And while my grades had suffered academically before, now they were changing. And then eventually I went, graduated from high school, and didn't think I would be going to college because my grades were so poor, and
Right.
and nor did anybody else think that I could up until then. And I wanted to show that as I could do that, and not only to myself but others, and so I did. So I attended and graduated from Baldwin Wallace, and while there, I had still been doing my martial arts study, and earned my black belt, and then was teaching people of all ages then, but I especially known that I was really attracted to how I could be helpful to other young people, children. And so I began a mission then.
Yeah, you
and
have
continues
this
today.
life mission now for over 40 years.
Yes, of helping other people, especially young people, build those qualities that lead to better success in life. That really can be quite profound and lifelong. And so this is what keeps me going today. And as it had transformed me, I can see thousands of young people, and of course people of all ages, but especially young people, how it's helpful for them as well.
Since you teach respect and honor, and you can just see how if someone feels they have integrity, how they can take that out to all aspects of their life. So it's really not just the physical part of what you're doing at all. It is so just a much bigger program than I think is always realized, right?
Yeah, a lot of people may not know that, and while we're doing things physically, if you will, we use the martial arts as a vehicle to provide this character growth.
Yeah.
And help make a difference in people's lives. And when you speak to that about integrity, one key element to having the ability to have that integrity more easily is have that sense of confidence to believe in yourself, so that anybody can then follow the path that they really know is the right one, and that is the values that they have gained and learned from perhaps their family and others, that really puts them on a path of doing things the right way, even when somebody isn't watching.
Yeah, right. And so I can see it would be wonderful to learn it as a child, but you can learn these things at any age. It's so much easier for an individual if you learn your integrity lessons, all your values from the time you're young, and are able to grow up with it. Probably don't go to that school of hard knocks as long, right?
True, that's very true. So if we're preparing people with these success qualities, which we refer to as character qualities, right? Then they're going to be stronger inside and withstand the different challenges much more readily, be more prepared to deal with life's difficulties.
So did that change how you felt, like being bullied? How did that help you? Because that's a word we talk about really quite often these days.
True, and it's an enormously difficult situation for a lot of people today. And of course we think about it for young people, but people are bullied in their own relationships, at work,
Really?
a variety of places as adults. It can be happening.
It can be from someone older, it can be from a peer, and I've heard of it too, even with adult children as well. So.
And the sad part is that sometimes it can be so serious for someone that they undertake very bad situations and cause it to be even worse by making drastic decisions, maybe even to take their own life.
Right.
And that there's no need for that. And we have found over these years too that children who are grounded with their self-worth and confidence will have a much easier time overcoming the difficulties of bullying, and do that peacefully. So that's a key element with challenges in life, is that sense of confidence, for sure.
Right. To be able to keep getting back up. Right. Because we're all going to go peaks and valleys, but.
That's a very important comment you've made, and I'll just get back to that in just a moment. And that thing is that when kids are being kids as we think, and they're not being so nice, people sometimes think you just got to be able to take that, and that's true. But being able to talk to somebody about that when you're having a problem, being able to speak up and let people know that something isn't right is very important.
Right.
And when you speak of peaks and valleys, building confidence is an ongoing kind of process, isn't it? Because there's different things that happen in our lives at different moments that may impact how we feel about ourselves. And so it's an ongoing thing for sure for anybody, even when we are confident. So for parents with young people, young children, that's something they got to kind of make it a plan, kind of regimen. What things are we going to do? What kind of experiences are we going to help encourage our child to have that will have them better grounded with that confidence?
Yeah, and always this fine line too, because you want to build them up, but you don't want arrogance either, and you want to be good to your children, and you don't want to spoil them, right? So, yeah.
What you talk about is balance, isn't
Yes.
it? Yes.
So let's go into more of with the adults, and how often do you have adults that you work with, and have you maybe seen some situations where it's really helped turn an adult around to feel better about themselves as well? Besides that grandpa you're talking about.
Right,
because he has to be on the top of the
other
world.
adults, and of course, and a lot of those other adults are their family members, or their parents of other children, but sometimes not necessarily, but it's common. And we spoke of what a great experience that is together. And for the adults, you might be surprised to know that how the sense of accomplishment that they gain in our practice also helps them with their confidence. You know, I'll tell you a story real quick about an adult we had a little bit ago, and he was a professional. In fact, he was a dentist. And he started taking classes with his two sons. And after about a year, I said, well, you know, how's it going? Your children are doing really good, and you're doing, why don't you give me a reflection about what this is meaning for you? And he said, well, you know, my confidence has really grown. And I looked at him kind of dumbfounded, because here's a professional, he's well educated, he's dealing with people every day in his practice, right? Here's got to be a guy who's got to be beaming with confidence. He says, my confidence is really growing. It's making a difference of how I deal with my patients and my staff. I was just floored at that. But then it taught me something, that everybody can use a dose of confidence. And there again, get back to that comment earlier about how that can go up and down. And for an adult, it could be a parent, it could be a grandparent. We have times that perhaps we need a little dose of self-esteem.
A season.
Yeah, or more, right. For us, maybe it's for years coming to us.
Great. Well, I've noticed that as adults, as we're aging, we do think differently, we have different concerns, we internalize differently as well. And some months back, one of my articles on my blog was about bullying, and it was one of the most popular articles there was that the seniors really responded to. When I was teaching the classes I teach through the week, that was commented on over and over and over. Like they were saying, tell us more. What can we do when we feel bullied?
So you're saying that the other adults were asking about?
All over 60 years old, saying it was one of the most important things they felt they needed and needed to understand better what they could do.
Well, can I take a few moments to talk about that?
Yeah.
Well, in addition to what I said about kids, well, it doesn't change for adults. And one way that how exude that confidence is how we carry ourselves. And when you think about situations, and self-defense is no different, and bullying is no different of how we portray ourselves. Makes us more open or more vulnerable, if you will, right? So what is the person who wants to prey on people like you want to do? They want to look at who's easiest, right? Or if we look at the animal kingdom and the lion who's hungry, does he go after he sees a herd of animals, does he go after the biggest, strongest animal and say it's a sheep or whatever it is, he says, I think I'm going to go get that one over there because that's the biggest, strongest one. I want to earn my meal today. He doesn't do that, right? He wants to eat now. He wants to satisfy that need of putting something in his belly. And so he goes after maybe the weakest one, or the one that looks distracted, one that's most vulnerable or easy to get at. And then gets that done. Well, that's no different than any types of injustice, right? What's the easy mark? What's going to be the chance of guaranteed success? In this case, victim being the person who's getting bullied, right? So if a person projects themselves in a more confident, assertive manner, they don't have to change their personality whatsoever. That helps to ward off that.
Just stature, posture.
In how you speak, your eye contact, all that matters. How you breathe, all that matters. Now, that's not going to overcome every situation, but that'll help minimize it from happening in the first place, versus looking withdrawn, looking weak, looking like, boy, let's get that person because we can really get under that person's skin easy. Let's go have some fun or whatever. So then we have to also understand who is the person who's doing this? Who is the bully? And understand a little bit more about them. And as we know from statistics and research, that oftentimes the person who bullies was also a victim of being bullied earlier in their life.
Or actually has low self-confidence and is trying to overcome that in this way by being some top dog in a inappropriate way.
Right, in an unhealthy manner, and trying to get their point across. Like, I'm just as good or I'm better than you, which is no different than the person who preys on women. Very common that way also.
Wow, I feel like we could talk all day. I love this kind of information, and I know that the viewers do as well. And I want everybody to stay tuned because we are going to do a little session. You're going to teach me some self-defense moves, right? So I'm looking forward to that. But how about a little bit of ageless advice? I'm going to ask you just a few questions, Jeff.
Go ahead.
All right.
I'm ready.
So Jeff, what do you think is the best medicine for heartbreak or loss? Because as we are getting older, that does happen more and more frequently.
It does. I think being able to talk with others about how we're feeling, I think verbalizing that, I think is very important. And sometimes that may be just talking to another friend or another relative. Could be a neighbor. Maybe it needs something more. Perhaps their pastor or other professional might be needed to help overcome that sadness that is within, that is really kind of weighing us down. And that can be harmful in a lot of ways. I mean, it helps us overcome that feeling that's just holding us down. You know, when we're feeling lost, it dampers everything that we do.
And we were just talking about your stature, the body language, everything that happens too when you're sad.
So I think we need to do that, talk to others, and then do something, not stay dormant. Get off the couch, go take a walk, do something to take our minds off of that which is bothering us. So replace that bad feeling with something else, and particularly maybe helping somebody else. Whether it be in the same situation of loss of a friend or a family member, or doing something for others who are in need, maybe at a food shelter or a women's battered shelter.
Right.
Something like that would be also rewarding and fulfilling, and knowing doing something with that energy in a positive, constructive way.
Great advice. Love it. You yourself, do you have a goal age to live toward?
Okay. And we say that not only, but be able to be sound and viable, yes? So how about 100? How about 100? And if I can be 100 and still fish and punch and kick, I think that would be marvelous.
There you go. Me too. I want to live as long as I can, but I want to be active. I want to just stay active. So, and Jeff, you do so much with the community. It's wonderful. Your work is wonderful, and I appreciate that. Do you have any ideas how a community can help an aging adult to feel valuable?
Well, I think having programs like many communities do, where invite the seniors to partake in something that's maybe enjoyable for them, but I think also recognizing the wisdom that seniors have, the knowledge that they have based on their years of experience growing up, right?
Right.
And be able to utilize that maybe to help others, whether it be other younger adults or maybe it's with children, providing a little helping hand, kind of like a mentoring, if you will. And that could be very constructive and help the senior be fulfilled, and at the same time be very good for someone else, whether it be the younger adult or a child, having some attention from someone, but also maybe a little guidance in some areas that they may be unsure of.
Right. Yeah. Wealth of information. The older we get, the more we understand, the more experiences. So Jeff, what is your secret to aging gracefully? At 65, you're doing fantastic. You're just really a model senior citizen, because I
you're
think
very
by
thoughtful.
all standards, 65 qualifies, right?
Well, I think keeping on the move is one critical thing to do for not only for myself, but for others. You know, get up, move, get exercise daily, do things to stretch, and by doing so, that will reduce the chance of getting injured and we're going to face that. That's going to happen. We have better balance, we feel better, but when you're doing something, you're going to feel better physically, and you're going to feel better mentally. And when you do that, you put it all together, you're going to be much happier as well as healthier along the way.
All right.
So I guess get off the couch, stay off the couch, take a walk, not sit in front of the TV.
Be active.
Yes,
Love it.
that's key. Doing things that you love to do.
Right. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Pleasure is mine, Kathryn.
And to our viewers, I'm sure you enjoyed this episode. And in just a moment, we're going to clear away the furniture. Jeff's going to teach me a little bit of some self-defense, so please stay tuned for that. And please make sure you check out my website, www.aginggracefully.tv. If you subscribe on the website, then every Saturday you get an email with this week's TV episode, plus some other articles that are quick to read and really fun and informative as well. Thank you for watching. If you are interested in being on my show, please let me know, or maybe you know somebody else that you think would be a wonderful guest. Just reach out to me and let me know. Thanks, Jeff.
So we're imagining now that you're that person who's the perpetrator, who's going to attack what seems to be a harmless individual, minding their own business. Maybe we're in the parking lot. I'm going to my vehicle.
Maybe you're not paying attention. Maybe you're searching for keys.
Or maybe I'm taking a walk in the park. Not that we should be afraid of going to the park, but
for whatever reason, I've got my eyes on you, and I'm coming after you. But you don't know it. But here
and shame on me, because I should be aware.
Okay.
Right? When they talk about being aware of your surroundings, shame on me that I wasn't paying attention.
Maybe I'm going to come out of the bushes.
You never know.
I'm definitely down. All right. Teach me how to do that.
Okay.
Okay.
This is going to be fun.
Okay.
And it's be beneficial for you and anybody else.
Okay.
Of course, but we need to tell our audience that we shouldn't try to duplicate this, because someone get harmed.
Right.
Not only themselves, they could harm themselves, but also somebody else. And of course, it's only limited to people that really trying to harm somebody.
Right.
So we need to get that.
You could practice it on your own with no one around. You wouldn't want to really practice actually physically touching someone, unless we're at your place of business where we're actually getting lessons, right?
Some trained and yes.
Yes.
Agreed.
So, okay.
Okay, so what's going to happen now? The person came and grabbed you here, and of
Okay.
course, the longer somebody's holding on to you, the worse it is, right? So, in that initial contact, you see something's not right, and of course, preferably if we had a moment to talk to this person, that would be best. But in some circumstances, we can't talk a problem through; it's already in place.
And you could probably tell just from the grip, this is not someone who
And
wants to talk.
based on how you perceive things to be, how serious it might be, you think this is now serious. Maybe I've said something like, come on with me, or you're not going home, or I'm going to do something physically damaging to you, or otherwise. So you can see this is a serious circumstance. So now we want to distract the person's attention. And we can do it in a variety of ways. One way is take the bottom of your fist and strike to the groin. And of course, we do it more than once because one may not be enough. So
How many
that may
times?
cause everything to stop. If nothing else, then maybe it's causing the person to loosen up, and now you can proceed to do something else, which you struck to my groin 3 times. That certainly put me on notice, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you strike to the back of your fist toward my face, in this case toward maybe the nose, and then you turn clockwise, raise that arm up, your right arm up, because now as you turn, you're kind of wiping this off your shoulder, but grabbing at the same time, and perfectly closer by the wrist, and
Okay.
take your free hand, using the heel of your hand, striking toward my face, maybe by my cheek,
1,
2, and 3. Put your hands on whatever you can get your hands on, and take your knee, and you're going to strike perfectly to the groin. 1, 2, 3.
Three.
I'm bending over, and while I'm bending over, you take your arm and you do an elbow, and you're going to do that 3 times, and that may cause the person to let go, and off to safety you go.
Okay.
Okay?
So it really is a matter of training yourself to be fast, responsive, knowing what to do quickly.
Yes.
So like you've trained so much that it just becomes automatic.
Exactly. And so in a sense, we're training the body physically so it can prepare the mind to be able to react to a circumstance, and that is someone, God forbid, attacking us or somebody that we care about. Yeah. Yeah, we've got to start someplace, and so we got to start the physical training first. But you're right, it's training the mind to be able to react, because otherwise we won't know what to do until you've been trained to do something. Just like being able to stay healthy, and if we need medicine, we need to know what it is we should be taking, how much should we be taking, or whatever else we need to be doing. And same thing for keeping us safe. We need to know what it is we should be doing, and know it well enough so it becomes
Just,
ingrained.
right, that makes sense.
Okay.
Well, I've only just had this brief lesson, but can I try again?
Yeah, come on over here with me. Let's get to know each other.
Okay.
3 of them. It's right to my groin. Go.
Yeah. 1, 2, 3. Bam in the face. Turn around. Grab your arm. 1, 2, 3. And
Make some
1,
noise.
2. Ah! Ah!
3 of them.
Ah! Ah! He's down. Oh, that would be awesome to feel like I really could do that. That would be great.
And you can, with their proper instruction and
Training.
training, you can do it just like anybody else can do it. It's one of these things that there's no limit. Anybody can learn how to stay safe, no matter even as the weakest person on earth.
Right, because it's technique, it's elements of surprise, there's confidence. Yeah, I can see how if you put it all together, anybody.
It's like a recipe, isn't it?
Yeah, that's great. Thank
Yeah,
you
high five,
so much, Jeff.
So great to see you today.
You too.